Hello everyone, it's Carbs here, and today we're going to talk about Thinky Blobs. So Thinky Blobs is an extension for Aseprite that the best way I can describe this is, have you ever looked up at the clouds and seen things? You see the shapes and you go, man, that looks like something. That's what Thinky Blobs is about. Thinky Blobs is all about putting sort of random shapes onto the canvas and then kind of going, huh, that looks like, this or that. And so it's sort of like it's a tool, but also kind of like a toy, It's just a fun thing to play around with, tweak some settings, put some blobs on the canvas and kind of get some inspiration and, use some creativity to make a cool scene out of the things that you see. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and go over all of the options, how they work, the settings, the custom inputs, how you can share the different settings with other people. If somebody like your friend has the tool and wants to also use the same settings that you have, then you can do that. So if you're looking for a shorter version of the tool and you just want to know what it does, I will go ahead and link the trailer/announcement video down in the description. It's usually, a minute, maybe 2 minutes long, just kind of shows all of the, all the things. There'll probably be a bunch of shapes thrown at you. So it just shows you a bunch of stuff that's going on and what the tool is about in a sort of quick fashion, like an announcement. And so anyways, this video is going to be a little bit longer, and we're going to go through some of the examples, show some fun things that you can do with it, the settings you can tweak, and all that jazz. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get into Thinky Blobs. So when you get Thinky Blobs installed, it's going to be up here under Frame and then Open Thinky Blobs. That'll open up the main interface here, and the most basic settings are shown to you right off the bat. So we've got Add Ink Blob. I'm just going to go ahead and press it. Let's see what we get. Ooh, okay, interesting. I don't know what it is, but it could be something. It kind of looks like a zap or like a lightning bolt. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Okay, let's say this is a cool shape. We're like, this is cool, and we make something out of this. Awesome. But also the thing is, we're not locked into this shape. We can go ahead and hit respill, and this will make another different shape. What is that? He's angry. Whatever it is, he is angry. Very angry looking, maybe it's like a robot or something. I don't know, with a big square nose. That's his nose sensor. He can smell trouble. Anyways, yeah, so this is the premise of Inky Blobs, right? Respilling ink on the canvas. We just get these random shapes that are produced from the numbers in the background. Basically, it's all math. It's just picking points on the canvas, and it's drawing lines in between those points and then creating a shape out of that. That's kind of the neat thing about Thinky Blobs is it's just a bunch of shapes and points and math and things, which is kind of fun. And it's very random. So when you run this, you'll get completely different shapes and whatnot. So every time you run Thinky Blobs, it will change the number in the background, which will give you a completely different set of shapes. It's kind of like if you think about like Minecraft or something like that, where the world is randomized. And the way that works is with this thing called a seed. So the seed is what determines that randomness. And it is something that we can tweak in the settings here, and I will show that in a little bit. We can come through here and we can make these little blobs and just have a good time with it. And just like make these different shapes and see what we see. And this is all using the default settings. So this is the settings that I found seem to, it makes cool looking shapes. The brush size and the point distance, the angle, and how many points there are. Again, we'll get into all these settings in here in just a second, but I just kind of want to show you the very basics of it, of, just adding the ink blob or re-adding the ink blob. We can also clear the cell as well. So we can go ahead and do that. We can add multiple. So let's say if we have this guy, he kind of looks like a little bowl. And then we add another one. So here's another one. This looks like a guy holding up a cleaver. I'm not gonna lie. So this might be some sort of advert for beef. Okay, get your best beef. or it kind of looks like a bird or something with its head back with like a big hairdo back here. That's kind of fun. And that's, this is like this is why Thinky Blobs is cool, because you could see something, I could see something, we completely see different things. And I think that's very, very cool and very, very fun. And the cool thing here is we can respill this one here. Oh, I had a selection. Oh no. Well, spoiler. The respill, what it does is it undoes and then it re-adds a blob. So if you do anything in between this, it'll go ahead and it'll undo and then just do the next blob. Oops. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you do things after you've added the ink blob, respill is going to just like undo and then add an ink blob. So we can go ahead, we can add another one, and then I can try and fit this on here somehow, or maybe we want to add to the little shapes that we have. So you can add multiple. What I'm trying to show here is that you can, it's not just limited to the one ink blob. We can add more. We use different colors if we want. So if I want to add like this little pink blob, we can do that as well. So you can kind of mix and match. You can do different things like that, which is kind of fun. Another interesting thing that you can do is you can use the mirror tool. Or the symmetry options up here. If I add an ink blob now, you see that we get kind of like a, I don't know, like a ship or something. And we can re-ink this. That almost kind of looks like a bat or a bird. What the heck? And of course, you can move the line around however you like, and then it'll mirror wherever it is, right? And that's kind of fun. We can also do this in multiple directions. Let me recenter this real quick. So if I respill this, so you get some really kind of like cool, like intricate patterns just from having the mirror, which I think the symmetry tool has always been really great for making like patterns, and whatnot. But yeah, with this, it kind of gives you that randomization, and it kind of gives you like some weird shapes and things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of, right? Which is fun. It's very fun. And so we can also use the diagonals if we want to. So we can come in here and do some diagonal stuff. And yeah, so just different weird shapes, symmetry. If I undo this, we can also do this with a custom brush. So if I go ahead and make like a little thing like this, it's got like it's got a little bit of depth here. So we'll go ahead, we'll do Control B to make a brush. So this is usually how you do clouds and stuff. Shout outs to Cup of Joe showing me that. I've seen that a few times, where you make clouds like this, which is kind of cool. But anyways, so yeah, now if we add ink blob, it'll go ahead and use our custom brush that we currently have selected, which is pretty neat. So we can respill, respill. So it gives it like a cool depth, and it's a lot of fun. All right, so comments from the future here. We added some extra settings after I recorded this initially, and I just wanted to show you guys this before we get into the custom settings. So show extra settings is going to be where you can pick where the blob goes on the current cell, a new layer, or the new frame. There's also an option in here for picking the palette color. So you won't see this toggle in the rest of the video because we added this after the fact that I recorded the next bit. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it and show you guys that real quick. So the current cell just means the cell that you're on. So this will act just like normal and replace the current cell. The new layer option will add a new layer in for each new blob that gets added. So you'll see we get different layers for each of the blobs. And of course, the new frame will add a new frame for each new blob added. So if the pick random color is turned on, this will go ahead and grab a random color each time we place a blob down, or if we re-spill. So this will kind of pick a color at random. And of course, if you want to keep this color for the next set of blobs, you can just go ahead and uncheck random color. And this will make it so that the blobs that you add after the fact will be the same color. So this is just kind of a toggle Okay, and that's all of the extra settings there. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll get into these custom inputs. This is where we can change all of the different settings, such as seed and point count. So the first one we'll get into is the seed. So the seed, this is essentially what makes the randomizer work. It takes in the seed, and from the seed, that's where all of the math and the sequence of different random numbers comes from. So if we use this seed here, and actually, let me real quick, I'm going to close it and then reopen this, and you'll see that this number right here changes. Okay, so we have a slightly different seed number, and that's because this is based on your system clock when you open up Thinky Blobs. So this will randomize each time, and this will give you a different seed, which will result in different blobs for each time you run the tool. Now the neat thing with this is we can copy and paste the seed. So if we want to get the same sequence again, and this will come in handy later when we share the settings as well, but we can go ahead and copy and paste the seed as well. So that's we'll get the same sequence of shapes. Oh goodness me. We'll watch the sequence and see what we get here, and then we'll copy and paste the seed, make sure we get the same sequence again. So I'll go ahead and add this. So we've got some different things. Piano falling, of course. Classic. Okay. So we've got that sequence of shapes. Go ahead and copy the seed. We'll close this. And if I reopen it, of course, the seed will be completely different now. And I can show you guys that by doing this. So we get a different set of shapes. But if we were to paste in the seed that we just copied, this will go ahead and give us the same sequence that we had before. So there's that falling piano again. Oh my goodness, I'm going to keep on doing that. But there's the falling piano, and so on and so forth. So by copying and pasting the seed, we can go ahead and get the same sequence of shapes again, which is really nice. It's very similar to like Minecraft. If you input a seed, that's how the generation of the world works, and that's why when you share a seed in something like Minecraft, it always generates the same world, unless of course some of the settings have changed. It should also be noted we can put any sort of thing in here, so we can even put different letters. We could even put a phrase in here like, hey YouTube, or if you're really feeling crazy, you can even put emojis in here, and that will create a different seed number as well. Okay, so next up we have point count. So this is the number of points that will be picked on the canvas to draw lines between. So right now, default it's set to 20. So if we go ahead and add an ink blob, you'll see that we get, one, if I make this smaller here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Right? Up to 20 points, right? So it goes 20 points and it makes the lines. And that's how many different points it has. If we set this to something low, let's say if we set it to 3, in theory, we should get some triangles. So we'll go ahead and respill. So we'll do this a couple times. You'll see that we get triangles. Because it's picking 3 points. So 1, 2, 3. Sometimes this will go off canvas, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, so it picks 3 points, 1, 2, 3. Or on the flip side, we can go really high with it. So let's go like 168 and respill. So you see we get these like crazy shapes because there's so many points involved, right? So we get these like really wild shapes like this. And this could be interesting. This kind of looks like an angry character. Maybe he's carrying something. Kind of looks like maybe like a big dog or something, with the ears here, and then you've got the nose. And this is like where his eyes would be. And his hands are kind of coming out on the side here, and it looks like he's kind of carrying something. I don't know. And that's kind of like, again, this is, I don't know. It's just so cool seeing these different shapes and getting like inspired to like just draw something you just never even thought of before. You're just like, oh man, that looks like I never would have thought of drawing a dog carrying something. Him being angry, so I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting idea. So that's how point count works. Just remember that this is how many points will be selected. The more points, the more complicated. Less points, the less complicated. So we'll move down to distance, min max. So this is the minimum distance to the maximum distance between points. For instance, if you see here, we have one like distance, and then here's another distance. So depending on your min and max, this will make the shapes obviously way different. So if I go ahead and change this, let's say if I go 1 to 20, that's going to be completely different than the 5 to 20. So we get these different shapes. So you might get smaller shapes. If we make this a bit smaller, if I make the min max, let's say 1 to 5, you'll see that we get much smaller shapes because the distance between points is 1 and 5. So it's a number between 1 and 5 pixels. So that's pretty cool and that's pretty fun. And then again, likewise, we can make this big numbers, and you'll see that, like, you know, if I do 100 to like 120, we'll get these big lines, right? We'll get these big sweeping lines. So each line will be at least 100 pixels, but it won't be more than 120 pixels, right? And sometimes the points will be next to each other. So you might get a line that's, you know, double that because one point went to the next point and, you know, it added it together. But anyways, that's what min max does on the distance. It makes these, you know, the bigger numbers, bigger lines, right? Which is very interesting. And then of course you could go really random and just have like a low number to a really big number, which can do some weird stuff as well. Like you might get a lower one here, but then maybe a higher one on some of these. So you get some kind of crazy shapes. Keep in mind like your canvas size, I guess, because when you think about it, if the maximum is more than your canvas size, you're probably going to get, you know, basically full canvas. Like if I made this like 200, we'll probably get something that's, you know, like way off canvas, and get some crazy stuff. So, I mean, it's up to you guys. You can do what you want, as long as the min is smaller than the max. Just remember that. So yeah, that's how min and max work. Okay, so likewise, the angle min and max. This is just as an example. If I draw a point here, the next point. So we have 20 points that it's going to select, and then each point it's going to use the min and max here. So with 0 to 360, it could choose any angle from 0 to 360, right? So it picks a direction and it goes in that direction. So maybe it picks, you know, like 90 degrees. So it goes up here. And then the next one, it says, oh, I want to go, you know, 45 degrees. So then it does this and then this, right? So, and it'll do that for each point. So it'll go from here, it'll pick a direction to go, and then the distance, you know, in between the min and max, of where it wants to go, right? And that's how it's creating these shapes, right? It's picking a distance, a direction, and then in the very end, it will combine that shape into one big shape. Like it'll reconnect it back to the original point. So with the angle min max, if you make these kind of like similar numbers, this will produce a line that goes kind of in the same direction. So like 300 to 360, there's only 60 degrees that it can go or choose from. So if we add a blob here, you see that we get kind of like in one direction. Same thing here. See how it's kind of going in one direction. So that's interesting. Likewise, if we did something like, you know, 90 degrees and, I don't know, like 110, we'll get something that's very much going up. We're always going up because the angle that it selects, it can only go in this sort of direction, which is 90 degrees to the 110, right? So it'll only ever choose a point that goes in that direction, from the last point. So you get kind of these things here. Now, if we set them to the same, if I do 90, we're probably going to get a bunch of sticks. Pointing straight up. Yep, makes sense. And that's because the first point might be here. The second point is going to go only 90. So it's going to go straight up. And then each sequential point is only going to ever go up to 90. So it'll always go up. So there's that. 0 to 360 is probably like the best way to do it because it's just kind of always going to be sort of all over the place. Yeah, just keep in mind that this is the angle that can be selected between each point. Which direction direction do we go from the last point to the next point, is what the angle min max is, right? So this is it picks a number, or if it's the same number, it'll be the same number. So yeah, that's what angle min max will do. It will set the min and max. Okay, let me clear this out. So the brush size, 4 is really nice. I found that 4 is actually a pretty good place to start. And this is basically the thickness of the line when it's being drawn. So the bigger your brush is when you're creating lines, the more sort of smooth or blobby it's going to be, right? So if we have a smaller number, this edge will look a little bit different than if we have a bigger number. So I don't recommend going down to 1, but you can try it. It doesn't really produce the best things. It's very sharp angles. As you can see here, it's very, very sharp. You can try it, but this is definitely not, it's not beautiful, which is why I have it a default of 4, because I feel like 4 at least gives it a little bit of smoothness, but you also still get some good variety in how the lines work. Wow, this guy is very angry, isn't he? I put my nose up to that. Anyways. And then, yeah, you can tweak this out to any size brush. Again, depending on your canvas size, your brush size might be better, higher. I'm using 128 by 128, which I don't know, it's just my default that I like to use for drawing. But yeah, so if we use a bigger brush size, you see that the lines are much thicker, which produces different shapes. Yeah, we get more blobs. And if I go way up to 64, this is going to be very blobby, very big shape. You know, we get these like weird blobby looking boys. And again, all of these are combined with the different settings. So we could change the point count higher or lower to produce different things. If I bring this down again to like 18, you see that we get more points and it's thicker. If I go to 3, we get the like triangles, but also thicker. So you can mix and match these and kind of tweak the settings how you like. Let me show you the last settings. So this tells you, it kind of gives you a readout of like what the settings were when you produce this last blob. So for instance, if I just leave all of these default, you'll see that these fill back in to the default settings. So if I clear this and hit add blob, you'll see that we have a point count of 20, the min max on the distance, and the angle and the brush size, everything is here. And this is sort of just a way to be able to share with people like what the settings are. You know, maybe if you're like live streaming and you're doing like, you know, you want to share this with your viewers, you can kind of show the settings, or if you want to share this with a friend, you can do that. That's kind of the purpose of this last settings thing here. Also, just I guess for your own, if you want to reuse this later on, it's just nice to have a way to save these settings. And you can also copy the settings and paste the settings as well. The only exception is the blob does not get the blob number does not get it does not get copied. You do have to actually respill so many times. So if I go ahead and let's reset this back to 0 and we'll clear this, and then let's say if we add an ink blob. Right, so there's our ink blob. We'll find a shape that looks kind of cool and interesting. Sure. Maybe that's kind of cool. It looks like a weird looking arrow that's pointing down or something. So this is blob number 9. So if I copy these settings and I'll paste them into just a document. So here's all of our settings. We've got the, you know, the seed and the canvas width and everything. So then we'll come down here. So we'll close the tool and we're going to reopen it. And I'll show you guys that this is not going to be the same, again, because it uses your system time to set the seed. And if I clear this out, now just remember this, actually, maybe I'll make a new layer so we can see this. I'll turn this off. There we go. So now I'll add this. And as you can see, we have different shapes going on, and that's because the seed is different, right? We've got different shapes going on here. Okay. So that's cool. If we go ahead and clear this and we reset to initial, let's grab our settings here. I'm going to copy that, and then in here I'm going to hit paste, and then we'll go ahead and add ink blob. So now you'll notice that we get the same shapes that we got before. So let's try and get back to our shape that we had, which is right here. So blob number 9. So that's really the thing. You just need to remember which blob number you have. So when you copy and paste the settings, you can get back to that blob and be able to share it. So that's what the copy and paste is for. It's very nice. You could maybe even have like a document. Hey, it's Carms from the future again. So we added more settings into this area as well. So here I am again. So when we paste settings into the last blob settings, we will now get this little pop-up right here, which will tell you which number the blob is. So how I was just previously explaining, you have to respill that many times to get the same blob. This will now tell you which number that was, as well as put the number up here in the parenthesis next to your blob, your current blob number. Also to be noted, you can now name the blob as well. So when you go to copy it, it will have the name in there as well. So if you have a bunch of these in a file, maybe there are different ones and you can identify which one is which with that. So that's pretty nice. So now if we respill here, you'll see that we get this doggo trophy, which looks just like this. So yeah, so those are the extra settings that I put in. That way we can share things a little bit easier. Maybe in the future I'll add like a save thing where you can save them out and then just like recover them. That'd be kind of cool. So yeah, that is pretty much all of that stuff. Is very interesting. So yeah, this is Thinky Blobs. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about Thinky Blobs, and you know, if you try it out, if you pick it up, if you're thinking about picking it up, you know, I don't know, it's just kind of a cool, fun toy/tool to kind of do some inspiration and creativity and just sometimes have a fun challenge too, you know. Like maybe you click add ink blob and you go, okay, this is the blob, I gotta deal with it now, and we're gonna just do something from it and try and add to it, or you know, whatever. So it's kind of a fun little challenge to try and see what you can do, you know. And I don't know, it's just kind of a fun little thing. And it's an idea that I've had for a while. Like I said, you know, you always look at the clouds, or you look at like a painted wall, or like a tile or something, and you're just like, oh man, that looks like something. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have that inside of Aseprite. So let me know what you guys think of Thinky Blobs, and of course you can pick it up on itch.io. Also, thank you so much for everybody that's been going above and beyond lately as well. It's a new option that I have on all of my tools. Completely optional. You don't have to do it, but if you do, it does support me financially to continue making these tools, doing updates, being able to spend more time on these. If you are interested in supporting what I do and you know, what we're doing here, consider going above and beyond. And again, completely optional, and it's just one of those things where if you want to, you can, and I really appreciate it. So thank you to everybody that has been doing that. Much love to everybody, and happy pixeling out there. I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of the day. Bye. I don't know why I was waving like you guys can see. Bye everybody. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you know, it do be like that sometimes. It do be like that. See, even the dog's upset. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Oh my God, the cat is a menace. Hold on.